This is the Note Closer Show, where you get the latest developments in distressed note investing and learn the secrets of how you can control millions of dollars worth of property for pennies on the dollar. Get educated and entertained by someone who has closed thousands of deals and lives to support you in achieving the same. Now, here's your host, CEO of We Close Notes, Scott Carson.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Note Closer Show. As always, Scott Carson, excited to be here with you today. Yes, I'm coming from the virtual beaches as we're kind of quarantined here for those that are watching the video. Those that are listening, hopefully everybody is safe in Note Nation and you're doing well. Obviously taking precautions and just being safe and having some common sense I think is the most important thing. And of course, wash your hands. But on today's episode, we're going to take a little bit of a different twist in some things. And I think you guys are going to love this. You're going to want to make sure you pull out a piece of paper or you step off the treadmill or you pull over because you're going to want to take some notes on today's episode. I'm honored to have a good buddy of mine that we go back, golly, I think almost a decade now based on where everything is at in the market and how we met originally. But this guy is a longtime friend of mine from the note business. He founded a trading firm that merged with a large private equity fund and, a big fund that was focused on buying bankruptcy notes. And he left last year recently to pursue consulting and other investment opportunities. But this guy started off in Rochester, New York. I was about to say Rochester, Minnesota, because that's where I was originally born. But Rochester, New York, buying rentals, fixing flips. And this guy has just done amazing stuff. Everywhere he's gone, he's grown. He's just taken leaps and bounds and doing some great things like that. In addition to still being involved in the note business, he's going to share about one of his passion projects that you all can implement. It's using credit card points and miles to travel the world for almost for free. So we're honored to have the man, the myth, the legend, my buddy Jack Krupey joined us this morning. Hey, how's it going today, Jack?
Doing great, Scott. Thanks for having me.
Hey, honored, man. You guys, you've done some great things and traveling all across the world. And, why don't you kind of give us a little bit more background or how you decided to make that pivot into what you're doing right now?
Sure. So, as the firm grew, I was traveling a lot more for conferences, to visit vendors, servicers, and, our business expenses also started growing. So I was, had tens of thousands of dollars a month in travel and business expenses. And, I'd heard, through a friend of a friend that was, able to fly business class for free. And, as a fellow big guy like you are, I really despise flying, in the back of a plane or in the middle seat. So I really just wanted to figure out a way to do that economically. And I found some of the more famous blogs like The Points Guy and started researching and also of always looking for different investment opportunities. So, over the course of a few years, I learned a number of the tricks on how to, generate Amex points, chase Sapphire points, and transfer them to airlines and fly business class or first class for, in some cases for free, in some cases, a few $100s in value. And it was really money I was already spending. So the first thing I'll say is I'm not going to advocate for anyone to just run up credit card debt. This is really targeted to, especially your network of note investors, real estate investors, people that likely already spend $20,000 a month at Home Depot, for example. And, should you put that on a card that gets 2% cash back, or could you put that on a card that earns points worth 5 to 10 cents a point if your goal is to maybe fly to the Maldives or go to Tahiti or just take one of these epic vacations? Which is something I'd be able to do a lot of over the last couple of years. So, the reason I really got started is I actually found a mistake fair. I actually remember it was Christmas Day. Actually, no, the day after Christmas, 2014. I was sitting home and for about 2 hours, Delta had mispriced pretty much their entire inventory. And I was on a site called Google Flights, which you could basically put a map up and it'll give you from your home airport all the prices in different markets. So I just pulled it up just for fun. And I saw that Hawaii was $36 for an economy ticket. And at the time it seemed cheap, but I wasn't necessarily pricing out Hawaii. And then I switched to business class, and it was $140 round trip for an 11-hour flight in business class on Delta. So I called my wife at work, and I was just playing with random days, and I was just like, should we do it? And we just decided, of course, even if we can't go, for $140, we just booked it. We booked a Valentine's week trip to Hawaii. And that was the first time I'd flown, a real business class where the seats lay flat, and I was just hooked from there, and spent, the next couple of years of my life just constantly reading blogs and the forums and trying to find every tip and trick. And then coincidentally, as part of my investing research, I came across a number of advisory firms that actually sell operating websites that are actually making money. And many of these sites you can buy at 3 times annual profits. And I actually found a site in the points and miles space. So it seemed like fate. I'd been looking at, potentially buying blogs or other cash flowing assets, online stores. And, when I found a site that was in the points and miles credit card space, it was, it seemed like fate. So I purchased a site called creditshout.com in March of 2017. And, it's been around since 2009. And I'm the third owner of the site at this point, but has roughly 1,800 pages of articles and blog posts and tips and tricks. And, I'm adding my own spin to it with, some more detailed points and miles posts. So sorry, that was a long intro.
No, it's great stuff. There's nothing wrong with that at all, because that's a good kind of where it goes to. And I think some people don't think about that because we've had, we talk about debt, we're both in the mortgage space. And I always make the running joke that if you're not in the note space, you already are, because you're usually paying out versus it coming in to you in a variety of ways with assets. And you just leverage what you've already paying out, expenses, travel costs, day in, day out operation stuff to help you pay for these, to get the points to transfer it over there. Where's the good starting point for somebody who's looking? Now, what kind of, are we talking, these are major credit cards, like from a major bank that's backing them? Or are we talking they're like a subset?
Yeah, it's definitely major credit cards. I really prefer to use the transferable points currencies, which is Amex, Chase, as the 2 major carriers. Then in some cases, Marriott and now Capital One and Citi all have points that you can transfer to different carriers. And generally, you get more of a bang for your buck using either an Amex Gold, for example, or a Chase Sapphire Preferred or Reserve than using an airline card or a hotel card. For example, I have a Delta card, which I use for certain status benefits, but for my day-to-day spend, an Amex Gold card, you get 4 times points on all restaurants and 3 times points on all grocery spend.
Wow.
Whereas Delta, for those that same spend, if you use a Delta SkyMiles card, you're only getting 1 point per dollar. And to make things even better, Amex points will transfer directly to Delta. So if you want to earn Delta miles, you could still do that. I know you're a Southwest guy or primarily, but other than the status, similarly, a Chase Sapphire Reserve card, you earn 3 times points on restaurants and all travel, and those will transfer to Southwest. So as long as you're not spending specifically for the companion pass, you're actually better off using those cards for your day-to-day spend. And both of those cards do have annual fees, but there's a fair amount of benefits you get with those that generally offset the annual fee. And one of the best tricks I have is to actually hold a fee version and a no fee version of the same card. So for example, Amex has a gold card where you earn the 4 times on restaurants, 3 times on groceries. Amex also has the everyday card where you earn 1.5 times points on all your other spend. And this way, no matter what, you're earning roughly 3 to 4 cents per dollar spent, depending on where you value the Amex points. Generally, the floor is 1 cent per point, but generally, I think the points are worth at least 2 cents a piece. And I've redeemed them for example, I flew Lufthansa first class, where a round trip ticket is $15,000. And, I used 200,000 points for a $15,000 flight. And, that's that's the type of, it's like a bucket list type item. I mean, I would never spend that amount of money to fly Lufthansa, even though it was an amazing experience.
But the thing is, hey, when you're traveling enough back and forth, because you've been traveling quite a bit recently, not just domestically but internationally, back and forth for a variety of reasons. You want to share kind of what's doing that and why this is really valuable?
Sure. So, as I was kind of winding down my time at my fund, I was looking at doing an executive MBA program, Master's in Business, and I went to a few different info sessions. And what I found is people that did the global programs really enjoyed them. You're generally with a slightly older and more established group of more senior executives, and you actually visit different countries and stay in a hotel with your entire class, and you take a week at a time, and you take one or two classes with people from all over the world. And I actually was able to get into the Kellogg program in partnership with Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. So every 6 weeks or so I flew to Hong Kong over the last year, and that's something I never would have been able to do or wanted to do if I was flying in a middle seat in coach for 15 hours. But fortunately, over the last year, I sort of used it as a game and a challenge, and I was able to fly. I used Amex points to fly Japan Airlines. I used Alaska miles to fly Cathay Pacific, and tried all these different airlines, and was able to also visit a number of other cities too. So from Hong Kong, it's so centrally located in Asia, I was able to visit Chiang Mai and Phuket, Thailand, and Japan and Korea, and it was a pretty incredible experience that I never would have been able to do. I've also taken 3-day weekends to Europe, where again, if I had to sit in the back of the plane, I probably wouldn't have done it, but for practically free, I've been able to visit friends in Amsterdam. And I actually ran into Wayne Snell, another note investor in Amsterdam, randomly. He was there for a concert, and I was just passing through, and it's unlocked a number of incredible experiences.
Well, and that's the beauty of it. If you know how to leverage that, you can and know the value in what your cards offer and the multipliers and who does what. It's a really valuable thing, and you outline a lot of this on your website, correct? With the different points and hey, use this for that, or if you're doing this, like you just said, you gave a very valuable tip. Hey, if you got a fee version of the American Express Gold Card or the non-fee one, take it because they have different advantages to use them for different things, correct?
Absolutely, yeah. And there's a lot of content, and we're continuing to build out the content on the cards, and we're also more than willing to do question and answers via email or via our Facebook page. So, a lot of people, and I sort of got into this because a lot of my friends started asking me, hey, what do I do? Or I have this many miles here. I want to go on this vacation. How do I do it? Or, friends that are business owners that just never paid attention to it and said, I'm spending, $30,000 a month on expenses, and I'm just using my standard Amex Platinum card. And should I be using something else, or what can I do with these miles? And I found in this industry with so many real estate investors, we're the type of industry that could really take advantage of this. And it seems like not that many people are really. It's sort of something that falls to the crack, and people are focused on their daily lives, and it's a very simple thing to do to unlock a lot of opportunities, and there's also domestic opportunities too. I know I don't have kids, so I'm able to travel the world a little more freely. But I know people who've taken their families to all-inclusive Hyatt properties on points and miles, either through the Hyatt card or through the Chase Sapphire program. Those points transfer to Hyatt at very good rates, so you can go to Cancun, Jamaica, Cabo, and stay in really nice 4 or 5 star all-inclusive resorts on points and miles, which saves thousands and thousands of dollars. Scott, I can't hear you.
My apology. so if you take a look at what you're basically okay, and this helps. I think Uni's also an accountant too, as well too with everything. She can help keep track of that. But you just take a look at okay, what are we spending on, and okay, that we're going to put it on the card and then just pay it off at the end of the month versus using our debit cards from our account so that we can maximize our points.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Again, I never advocate carrying a balance. And actually it's funny because Uni, my wife, she gives me some crap sometimes because, I'm a little bit all over the place and sort of ready, fire, aim in certain parts of my life. But on the credit cards, I've literally put a Post-it note on her credit card and say, use this at the grocery store. Use this for this expense. And she goes, you're so detailed with this. Why can't you remember to put your socks in the hamper?
I think every man worries with getting their socks in the hamper.
Yeah. But
what's besides what was the biggest thing initially? Now, Lufthansa, that's a great thing, flying that Lufthansa. But what's another thing that's we were just kind of surprised, like, oh my God, I can do this thing. What was kind of the big first surprise for you with everything you're doing with your credit cards?
Just really how quickly the points seem to add up without really trying. When you're earning 4 times points for restaurant spend, and at the time I was living in New York City, and restaurant and groceries are probably the 2 biggest expenses. I'd imagine for most people in this country, those are some of the highest expenses. So if you're spending a few thousand a month on groceries, if you do this for a year and you pay it off at the end of the month, just like you would anyway, you could have over 100,000 points. There's also pretty lucrative sign-up bonuses. So the first year or two, I'm not advocating to purposely get a card just for the bonus, but again, there's different cards for different purposes. So over the first few years, you can amass a few 100,000 extra points just from welcome bonuses for spending a few thousand over a few months. And again, a lot of the annual fees are paid for through certain benefits. So, I do hold a few Marriott cards because they give 1 free night. And it's an $89 annual fee, but I'm usually getting a $150 hotel room. And when you spend specifically on that hotel room, it gives you like 4 times points on your spend. So it does make sense to do that. I think, how quickly they added up. I've probably built up 1 million plus miles in the first year just from a couple credit card bonuses and just focusing on being efficient with my spending. And then you could be that person at the restaurant. You're out with a group and some people have cash. Throw your card in and take cash from everybody else. It's a easy way to run up a lot of points without actually spending more money.
You're reminding me of the movie Up in the Air with George Clooney and Anna Kendrick, and my goal 4 million points, 4 million points, and having the pilot come out and say, "Well, it's nice to meet you. Here's your card."
Yeah. I'm actually a lot like him, except for the looks department.
Well, you can travel a lot. Just carry a backpack with you in a lot of cases, right?
Yeah.
I've got. For those that are listening to this episode, you may want to go on over to the YouTube channel and watch it because I pulled up the website, creditshop.com, and you've got, we're just kind of scrolling through. They get some great featured articles on here, your best cash back cards, the best credit cards with your editor's picks, top deals. You really do have a lot of great stuff. Best air miles. Wow. You've got great articles on this stuff. And really deliver a lot of things. You talk about some other things there besides credit cards too, like the different wireless things and stuff like that too.
Yeah. Actually, there's one of the articles that actually gets a lot of traffic here is people trying to figure out what credit score you need for cell phones. Given the iPhones are over $1,000, they do run a credit check, in order to get a cell phone. So there's some information on Verizon and AT&T and what their requirements are. Most of your listeners that are full-time real estate investors may be a little less concerned about getting approved for a cell phone, but it does have some interesting information available. And we're working through the beginner's guide is ongoing. That post is going to be updated regularly. I'm really working through most of what we're talking about here, trying to update reviews for every single card. And it does talk a little bit about the transferable points that I covered here on first. First, it actually covers sort of how to get your score for free. I mean, we have links to Credit Karma, Credit Sesame, and then which types of points depending on what your goals are. If you're looking to fly in business class, probably the best. I keep going back to that because I think that's the best. If you like to do that, it's the overall best value. Sometimes you're getting 10, 15 cents a point for those types of trips. But again, it covers hotels and other avenues as well. And what I'm going to work towards over time is some of the interesting loopholes. I mentioned it's a lot of my friends call me for advice on sort of more custom trips. Yep. And that's really where again, there's so much content. It's so hard to get it all on paper. But it's a lot of the obscure foreign programs. For example, you could transfer American Express points to All Nippon Airlines. It's Japan's number 2 carrier, and they have some incredible rates where United may charge you 115,000 miles each way. ANA may charge 60,000 miles each way. So almost half the price to book on a foreign carrier. And in some cases, you could actually book United flights using a foreign carrier at the same price. That's the same thing for Delta. You could use Virgin Atlantic miles and actually book Delta flights cheaper than Delta itself. So
yeah, we've experienced that when we've flown on Virgin. When we fly overseas, we don't fly the first class. We take the business class seats because you can get some really great deals there and transfer back and find some really great bookings. And I'm willing to imagine with everything going on, travel is going to get even cheaper as the airlines are trying to bring people back in and trying to people get comfortable traveling more. So what's your opinion on that?
Yeah. I think travel is going to be cheaper for the short term. They definitely, I'm even seeing it now that's trying to incentivize bookings for summer or fall. And, certainly, I think it's important the next few weeks to stay safe, stay hunkered down and follow the rules. But I personally am looking for speculative bookings in the fall. If I find a great deal in September, October to go somewhere, I'm not afraid to book it now. Points and miles are also more available. When planes are full, they always have space available for award tickets, but not on every flight every day. It's going to be much easier now to book something on points, and most of those points bookings are actually fully changeable up until sometimes 72 hours beforehand. So if you want to speculatively book a trip to Europe, now's a great time to look for options. And I think so. I think it's also, I think in a way it's like patriotic to support the airline, support the businesses, and help them with their cash flow and find a great trip for yourself.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I was looking at the news last night, and they were talking about how hotel bookings are down to 50% compared to normal 75, 80% year where it is now versus it was a month ago. And then the room rates versus an average, especially it's just here in Austin, average rates were like 175 a night. It's down to 125. And of course that helps because South by Southwest was going on. It was supposed to be taking place here last year, but now it obviously canceled. But, we see that, there's all sorts of, I'll give you an example of something drastically happening, like with the cruise lines. We're a big fan of cruises, and Disney is doing a thing. Hey, book a cruise right now. If we end up having to cancel, we'll give you 125% of value of what you paid towards a new one. And then, you can obviously use points to pay for that. And then, hey, come out even bigger ahead for a bigger cruise if you wanted to,
Yeah, it's better than the unfortunate joke of buy a 1 week cruise, get 2 weeks free because you're under quarantine.
I know. Buy one, get 2 weeks free. Yeah,
I can't help but it's sort of gallows humor. It's better to laugh than to cry with what's going on right now. But yeah, the points are 100% true, and I think. This thing will run its course, and it's we're taking drastic steps, and it's things will stabilize in the coming weeks, and I think it's good. People have a lot of time at home right now too, so it's a good time to do a little research and try to find a way to get out of the house after being cooped up in the house for so long.
Yeah, exactly. I had a student of mine who did one card. He owned a supplement company, and he paid for every bit of shipping was charged through his Amex Gold card or Silver card every month. So he literally was taking those points and doing everything he wanted to, travel and all that stuff. So this is a couple years ago, but it's evolved. It keeps getting more and more advanced, and different things and perks are becoming much more available. Like you said, different hotel cards, different airline cards. You just got to know that, like what you said was a thing. Hey, you can book, if you go to Virgin, try to book a flight with Delta there, it's often cheaper in Virgin versus the other way around, because we've seen that where we've been supposed to be flying on Virgin, but it's been operated by a different carrier and vice versa. And the fact that points can transfer, hey, makes it often a lot easier versus just being stuck. And we fly religiously on Southwest because it's an easy in and out. And I'm usually the first guy on, so I get the exit row seat for the extra room. Or if I got Steph there next to me, I can hang over an arm into her lap most of the time, and she doesn't get too mad most of the time. Just give her a Bloody Mary and she's good to go. But but that's the thing, is look at what you're doing. You can get perks. You can capitalize on some of the stuff. Have you had the credit cards send you any other stuff? I mean, are you getting other increased lines of credit as you're using this? Is your balances, not your balances, but your limits going up because you're using this and cashing them in and out on a regular basis?
Yeah. And actually my score actually went up as well. I had a couple challenges after 2008. So my score wasn't exactly perfect post financial crisis. But one of the things is, a lot of people get concerned of having too many cards and does it hurt your credit score? Now, if you're going to get a mortgage in 2 weeks, maybe it's not the time to open a card. But one of the major metrics that the banks use is, what is your credit? What have you drawn on your cards versus your available credit? So if you only have one card and you have a $20,000 limit and you spend $15,000 at Home Depot, and even if you pay it off in 2 weeks before the end of the month, for that period of time, your score is going to drop. However, if you have 4 or 5 cards and now you have 100,000 in available credit and you have that same $15,000 bill at Home Depot, you're below 30% utilization, and that actually helps things. So it's actually good to have a few cards and a few options as long as you're not carrying a balance. And a lot of the cards have different perks, and they'll run short-term spending bonuses. Spend $2,000 on this card on this month, we'll give you triple points. Amex and Chase both have offers where you'll get 15% off on Macy's 1 month, or Chase, for example, has rotating bonuses to their Freedom card, which is their free card. Every quarter they have a 5%. They call it cash back, but when you have the Chase card, the Chase Freedom, and you have the Chase Sapphire, you could transfer points between them. So it's essentially 5 times points if you want it that way. And sometimes it's on gas, sometimes it's on a certain store. I get $100 off on Dell every 6 months from Amex. So there's a lot of it's hard to track, but there's a lot of different things. One of the other things I use is a Word Wallet. It's sort of like Mint.com, but for tracking your airline programs. And because I've signed up for a lot of obscure programs like ANA Air. I don't just have Delta and Southwest. I probably have 20 different frequent flyer accounts. And you put in your usernames and passwords, and it tracks all your miles. It'll actually tell you if something's going to expire. And that's another valuable thing, is I've helped people save hundreds of thousands of miles that were going to expire just by transferring 1,000 Amex points. Will keep the miles alive for another year. Or in some cases, you just sign up for like a magazine subscription, or there's dining programs where you link your card to a dining program. There's so many little intricacies that don't take much time, but really do add up over time. And it's kind of addicting. I think certain people. If you're the type of person that sort of gets into trying to, be efficient and make a few extra bucks, it gets addicting. It's a bit of an arbitrage. I find most guys that play poker also love points.
Yeah, as I was gonna get to, it's definitely kind of it's another version of poker for the most part, or is a debt game and things like that. Just figuring out how can I use this to transfer and come out ahead, or vice versa. How can I? And there's a lot of ways, a lot of little backdoor loopholes that if you don't know, you're gonna miss out on things. But Jack has done a really good job, and that website has done really well. Any other websites? Just curious, are there any other websites you've purchased that have been valuable with it? With the optimization that you're seeing?
So I have one other one that's in a joint venture, and it's actually it's called A Mess-Free, Stress-Free Life, and it's actually sells ebooks on how to organize your house, which it's very ironic because I'm not very organized, but I actually purchased that in a joint venture with another group that's sort of a property manager for web businesses. So this has been a pretty new initiative for me. But I'm looking very heavily at sort of everything from cash flowing blogs that sell ebooks to my wife's actually been pursuing Amazon. There's Amazon businesses for sale that there's a little tricky time for that now, but people will import products from Alibaba and set them up on Amazon, and it's a relatively turnkey business. You do need to order products. There's a lot of research to get it started, but once it's up and running and you're ranking, it's another cash flow stream. I really look at it as digital real estate, and the returns can be pretty lucrative. It reminds me a bit of notes in 2008, 9, and 10 when the returns were quite lucrative. So I'm digging in pretty heavily in that space. I may actually launch a small syndication at some point later this year, but I'm still sort of working out the kinks on my own properties for now.
Where do you think I think we're going to see kind of not a repeat of 2008 to 9, but we'll definitely see a bit of a tick in the market when it comes to foreclosures and defaults here with everything going on. Don't you think a little bit?
Yeah, I think so. And, and I hope that, pricing at an institutional level has got really, really aggressive over the last year or two. So, I certainly don't wish any heartache on actual homeowners to actually default. But my hope is that this scare and sort of what's going on in the overall credit markets does maybe bring pricing down a few notches. I think the larger seller is going to price in maybe slightly longer timelines and just more defaults because of the hiccups, and maybe more loans will kind of shake loose and be available for the smaller buyers, which at this point, that's sort of, what I am again. I'm consulting and I'm working, in-house, sort of brokering some larger deals for a client, but, otherwise I'm still looking to buy some loans personally too. Yeah, I hope it does, but I hope it recovers. I don't think we're going to be in the same. Real estate's not the cause of the issue this time. It's sort of a short-term panic. I think, I've always preached modify the loans when it makes sense. So I think a lot of these situations where people had a short-term hiccup, is a great opportunity to buy something and then do a modification, either forgive or put a couple payments at the end of the loan, and help borrowers reperform. And that market, I think, will continue. The reperforming market, back when you and I met, barely existed. And I think in some cases you were afraid a loan would reperform because it might be worth less. But with interest rates going to zero, there's a huge demand for performing cash flowing paper. And if you have mortgages at 3, 4, 5, 6%, that's 3% higher than the Fed rate. So I do think there'll be continued demand for performing paper.
Yeah, definitely. And I agree completely with it. Most people don't know, but Jack and I met for me doing a sweaty ass video and throwing it on YouTube on a condo walkthrough that I was doing originally back in the day. And he'd bought a couple notes from Chase Bank on 2 condos in the same unit. And my video was the only bit of marketing you could find on that complex out there. And so I got a phone call from the guy, a New York number, and I seen these other 2 assets on another tape. We looked at the same tape. He bought them, beat me to them. But when it was funny, he called me. I was like, "Are you calling about 105 and 107?" He's like, "What the hell?" And we just hit it off from there. So good stuff. Well, Jack, I appreciate you coming on here, man. It is exciting. As we say, everybody's in the note business. You just have turned the credit card flow more back to towards your way versus just the outflow, which is awesome there for you. So Thanks so much. How can people? What's the best way for people to connect? We're gonna hold you. Just go straight to the website at creditshout.com.
Yeah. From the website, you could email us at creditshout@gmail.com. We have an Instagram and a Facebook page, and certainly there are some affiliate links on the site. So if you're thinking of applying for a card, feel free to email or reach out online for some customized advice. And then we'd appreciate if you go to creditshout.com first, and then click through to one of the affiliates if you're going to apply. And again, we're certainly especially for all your listeners, happy to give some, our guidance on what we think is maybe the best fit for you.
Awesome. Good stuff there, Jack. Well, hey, man, you have a safe quarantine there in Puerto Rico, my friend. Enjoy it. You're in San Juan, right?
Yeah, right across the street from the beach in San Juan. And, I should, I don't know, your background looks better than mine just because I'm in my apartment. But, it's been a real pleasure. I'm glad we could catch up and look forward to doing it again.
Yeah, definitely sounds great, Jack. All right, guys. Well, take Jack up on his advice and his counsel, his experience. This guy knows. These guys been flying all over the place. I crack up at the photos I see every time because he's not a middle seat guy. Neither am I. He's like stretched out, laying out. It's almost like they come to the flight attendants show up with like silk pajamas, like from like the Crazy Rich Asians movie. Therefore. But anyway, guys, go check it out. Creditshout.com. And we'll see you guys all at the top, everybody. Bye.